Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, Dame D, NYDC. Two mics up. Man, we here again, man. It's season 5, y'all. We just rolling along, keeping things busy, keeping things going. But tonight I'm excited. Let me tell you why I'm excited. So, you ever come across or have the opportunity to talk with someone who is so multi-talented and has really spanned across many fields in the entertainment industry? And when you really sit back, because at first I didn't realize the depth of tonight's guest. We're talking about TV, we're talking about film, we're talking about producing and directing her own film. We're talking about performing on stage. We're talking about Tony Award winning. I mean, it was just so mind blowing when I sat back with our team and really dug into tonight's guest. And I know y'all probably like, Dame, here you go. You're always dragging and teasing, but I had to prepare the stage for y'all because you just really don't understand who's going to be joining me tonight on the other mic. But without further ado, I'm going to bring up tonight's guest, Tonya Pinkins, the diva, the goddess, and all that. Y'all see it. Y'all see how she doing it right there. Tonya, sister, how you doing tonight? Yo, I hope I did you right.
I am divine. I am divine.
Well, I'm glad, and I hope I did you right because it was really mind blowing. Like I said, to me to have the opportunity to really dig in about you and your background. But Tanya, I want to start first. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, to our audience and give us a little bit of background about who you are, where you're from.
Well, my name is Tonya Pinkins. My family calls me Tony. So I'm from Chicago, and I can usually tell how someone has met me by whether they call me Tony or whether they call me Tonya. I went to Whitney Young High School in Chicago, which is where a woman named Michelle Robinson, who became the first lady of the United States, went to school. She was an underclassman, but we were in classes together at Whitney Young.
Oh, wow.
And I attended Carnegie Mellon University. I got my first Broadway show while I was a freshman over my Christmas break.
Wow.
And so left Carnegie to go and do that Broadway show, and then went back and finished college at Columbia, Chicago, 15 years later.
Wow.
I've done 9 Broadway shows, a lot of off-Broadway shows. I've written my own cabarets. I've produced and directed and wrote and starred in a feature film called Red Pill. I'm about to do my second feature film, Game Night. We're shooting in February. There's other than clown and stand-up, and I actually did do stand-up once. I did do stand-up once in LA. I was my friend Brett Butler said, you got to do it 3 times because, but that first time I did well, and I was like, the next time it's going to kill. It's going to die. So I'm going to quit while I'm ahead here with the stand-up.
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's just amazing. Like I said, just the talent and all the areas that you've been able to touch throughout your career.
We forgot that I have a podcast.
See,
that I also have written 2 books. Get Over Yourself, How to Drop the Drama and Claim the Life You Deserve, which was published by Hyperion in 2006. And then I self-published a book this year called Red Pill Unmasked about the making of the movie.
See, that's what I'm saying. You learn so much. And this is what I say, well, I don't want to say give flowers, but this is why I'm excited, because you're really the first person that I've had the pleasure of talking to that has really touched on everything. And we're talking about writing books, Tony Award winning stage plays, producing, directing. I mean, when you think back or when you look back now, because I have to ask, what was that thing then that really got you, interested, whether it be interacting, or which was the first foray really for you that led you to really kind of blossom into your career?
Well, I mean, I think as a kid, I was always a kid who, was kind of a loner. My mother used to say she couldn't punish me by telling me I couldn't go outside because I was much happier in my room.
Wow.
I could get in my room and I'd be making up songs and poems, and I'd be painting, because I do paint too. I forgot to mention that. And I could just entertain myself by myself. I am still my favorite company. But I was really shy. You know, I did all these things by myself and wasn't really good with the hanging out thing. So the kids were always trying to beat me up, and I had to learn to get really good at the dozens, because I had to talk my way out of that ass whooping.
I know that's right.
Didn't know how to fight, didn't know how to jump double dutch. I was mostly in the room. And then I had an elementary school teacher who would, you know, get kids involved in work if they were interested in that. And so I started working professionally doing commercials and industrials when I was about 12 or 13.
Wow.
Chicago was, you know, the home base for the Coca-Cola company, for the McDonald's company. So I was doing print ads and commercials. Coke had a campaign called Have a Coke and a Smile. And I was the smile when I was about 14 or 15 years old.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. Like I say, with all of this that you do, Tonya, so then, I mean, not to be nosy and get in your business, but like, when do you sleep? Like, when do you find time in your busy schedule to actually catch a break and catch some rest?
You know what is it's one of the challenges for me is that I don't need a lot of sleep, especially when I'm really excited and passionate about something. So maybe I sleep, you know, 4 to 5 hours a night. And no matter how late I stay up, I still wake up early. And if I'm excited and I'm in a creative mode, then, you know, the mind is going, I'm creating. I'm always working on 3 or 4 projects at a time. All my friends all my life say they've never met anyone in their life who has as much energy as me. And I can feel how I've slowed down. I'm 60 years old now, so I don't have nearly the amount of energy I had then, but I have eons more energy than most people. So even when I'm collaborating with people, I have to rein myself in because I could really do everybody's job.
literally.
Because I'm awake. It's like, you know, people be like, Tonya, you were sending me emails at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I was up. I was thinking about what we're doing.
Literally. Oh my goodness. So, you know, that then leads me to, right? So everything that you seem to touch on, Tonya, you know, you've been blessed with so many different awards, and really your blessings through your work, right? You know, we talk about Tonya Award winning actress. I believe reading it was a Rachel Crothers a leadership award, the Lord Taylor Awards, I believe it was, and you won that several times. If I remember correctly, it was like 3 times. You know, and we can probably go on and on and on. These are the things that I'm just talking about that just kind of jump up that I remember reading about. But again, your totality of your work, how much does it really mean to you at times as an artist? And this is I want to be on, you know, just as an individual, we like to be recognized for the work that we do. But for an artist, you know, what does that really mean to you, you know, to be recognized for all the amazing work that you've done and you continue to do? What does that mean to you?
Well, being really honest with you, awards are a nice some ego meat. You know, they feed your ego. And you can sort of like, you know, go, you know, but that doesn't sustain me as an artist. It doesn't, you know, like, okay, you got the award, now I got to go create something else. Right. It is nice to be recognized, but honestly, the recognition that is more meaningful to me is when I meet a person and they got it, or something that is the more meaningful thing for me, because it's immediate. You know, when I got the Rachel Crothers Award, it was actually the best experience of getting an award that I'd ever gotten. One of the things I'll say about awards is often awards are really publicity events for organizations. Okay. True. And a lot of times awards don't have anything to do with merit. They have to do with you being in the club and the relationships and who's your publicist and all of that. So it's like, yeah, it's a nice piece of ego thing, but the work and the awards don't necessarily match up at all.
Wow. I see that.
And
Okay.
so when I meet a person and they got it, it was a lot. Like when I made my film Red Pill,
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was doing something radical. I knew that Americans, for the most part, were not going to like my film. They were going to be offended. But I knew that outside of America, that almost anyone outside of the country would get it and love it. And so Red Pill has been translated into Russian and Greek and Spanish and Catalonian, and it's won international awards for best film. It's won some here. It ran Real Sisters of the Diaspora best film, and it won the Michaud for best director. So we've won awards in America, Black, but I knew that I was making a film that was an attack on this system that we have. And so that wasn't going to be uplifted here. But I knew the work was good and I knew it was important. And so as I get older, particularly, I focus on how do I feel making it. About, I think it was 2015 or 16, maybe 16 or 17, I made a rap roast video where I roasted myself. And I was inspired to do that because I was up in Toronto and there was a film festival, and the Black House had this teaching people how to use YouTube. And I love to learn. And anytime I take a class, I'm going to try it. Like, even if I fail at it, I'm going to try it. I took the class and I try it. And so we met all these very successful YouTubers, and they said, you know, do something that's trending. I looked online, I watched some rap roast videos. I thought, oh, this is really cool. I could do this. And it's kind of like the dozens.
Right.
So I've done some, I'm an advocate. I speak my mind, gets me in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of people don't like me, don't want to work with me because I just call it like I see it. I'm not saying it's the truth. It's the truth I see.
I see. Yep.
And so there was a lot of hate about me. And I thought, well, this is great for a rap roast because I can just pull all this stuff on the internet.
Right.
So first I went to my sons and said, they're rappers, you know, want to write this up. They're like, they want to touch that. So I ended up hiring this Jewish guy, wonderful writer. He's a pun. He has a punderfest where he's really good with puns. I said, here's all this hate about me on the internet. I need you to write me a rap about it. So the first time he came, I said, this is too gentle. I said, actually, let's have, there's going to be two me's. There's going to be me attacking me about my personal life, and then there's going to be the me that's attacking me about my career.
Wow.
And so, you know, once I gave him permission, he went in. And I was loving it so much because the dozens is fun for me.
Yeah.
And so I would be telling people about whatever, and they're like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And people were like, what do you mean you can't do that? I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm not going to not do this because it's radical, because I was enjoying making fun of myself. Was so, I mean, I made fun of my voice and my acting and my custody battles and, you know, everything. I loved it. You know, the New York Times wanted to do an article about it.
Wow.
And as it turns out, they wanted to do an article about how crazy I was and wasn't I a problem. And everybody that they interviewed was like, you need to be careful of this. And so the headline was of something like, you know, try to insult Tonya. She got there first. And where I thought I was doing something that was going to make me, you know, like people know I could take a joke, and make me a little more soft and fuzzy. I think I made myself more scary because I'm like, you can't even insult this me. You don't even care.
Oh, that's crazy. This turned yourself into a whole nother animal. This evolved into a whole nother space of an animal. Oh my goodness. You know, but I think that's the reality too. Like you say, you know, I get it. You know, coming from Chicago, you come from the inner cities, and like you said, give me your background. You know, being a very solo or in a solo space as a child and upbringing. And I understand the dozens. For those who don't know the dozens, we talk about Jonah. We talk about snapping on you. We talk about your mom. We talk about anything and everything. It don't matter. And you got to be quick with it. And you got to have a thick skin. Let's just call it what it is. And
you got to.
And a lot of times it's not personal. it only becomes personal when you take it as personal, but it's all the good times. I get it. I grew up on it the same way, so I
You
love it.
know,
But
I just did the play A Raisin in the Sun at the Public Theater.
right, right.
And this was the first Raisin in the Sun. I'm so proud of the work that we did because it was like 4 or 5 Chicagoans. And
Okay.
we brought Chicago to it. Okay. We wasn't doing Sydney, Port. We brought the Chicago to it.
Right.
And so the New York Times gave me a bad review.
Oh, wow.
Was telling me like I was not as good as I usually am or something like that.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I ended up writing an open letter to Jesse Green.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and found, I love to write these essays. So I went and found some interviews of his and things that he talked about, how he liked, that writing that was controversial and that might upset people. And I said, I hope you feel that way. And because you did this beautiful profile of me, 5 or 6 years ago, I'm going to take you as a friend and I'm going to teach you about the Chicago dozens right now.
Okay.
And here I go. I said, Helen Keller could have written a more accurate review than you wrote of this performance. What? And then I went on for about 20 pages, just taking the head of the New York Times to task. Like, how you gonna tell me, white man, how to be a black woman? I am a black woman.
Man, you gave it to him. And that also leads to, though, like, because you mentioned, the red pill, writing that and producing it, and what was that journey like? Because I know our country was in a space, and then you come with this piece. What was that like for you, and what was that journey like, and bringing that to life for us to see?
So, one of the things that I'm not the only person who says it, but a lot of people say they would take a Southern redneck Ku Klux Klan person over a Northern liberal any day, because the Southerner, they're in integrity.
Yes.
They are clear about what they like, what they don't like, and you can trust them to do a certain thing. So you can make your decision about that.
Right.
But them Northern people, they are performing political correctness, and when it hits the fan, you don't know what they're gonna do.
And it's valid.
So, to walk in those worlds, you're aware of the people that they're wearing a mask, that they're performing tolerance of you.
Right.
And so as I was coming up on that 2016 election, it was so clear to me how that election was going to go. And in the liberal circles that I hang in New York, people were just like, they treated me with contempt. Wow. They treated me like I had two heads. How could I be so stupid? I mean, Hillary is so brilliant. And how could you think that buffoon? And what I didn't say at that time was, Hillary couldn't beat a black man. Ain't no way she's going to ever beat a white one. But I was just terrified at the cognitive dissonance of the world.
Wow.
And so I was tense. And so as we were coming up on the 2020, I knew how that was going to go too. And so in 2019, a girlfriend of mine, we're sitting around, and there were a couple of shootings 2 weekends in a row, like a Saturday and a Sunday, 2 weekends in a row. And she was like, oh, that's just some random crazies.
Wow.
And out of my mouth, I said, but what if they had a leader who had a long-term plan? And that was the moment in which Red Pill came to me. I started thinking about Hitler and how he took the forked cross from Hinduism and turned it into the swastika, the most sacred symbol there was, and turned it into this symbol of hate. And so I'm like, I've got to find a symbol and use it for these people in my play, in my story. And I was like, neither the Republicans or the Democrats are good, but they're bad in very different ways. The Republicans are just go get violent, do something, and the liberals are, oh, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Right. Let's talk some more. Let's think some more. So I was like, I want to make a story that is how I experience my world.
Mm.
And I said, I'm clear that not very many people experience my world this way, because when I say what I think, people treat me like I'm crazy.
Right.
So I said, I know that people are going to tell me this is far-fetched and crazy and ridiculous. And I just said, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this film. I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to call friends up and ask them if they'll come and do this with me. And that's what I did. And we made it in 2019. And sure enough, people were like, oh my God, Tonya, this is so far-fetched. And then when January 6th happened, they were like, did you make this after January 6th?
Right. Coincidentally, right? Like you had to, yeah. But I mean, it's true, there are a lot of things that and similarities and parallels, and I can see it, how it played out. And I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to watch the entirety. But I can understand and I can see where it comes from. And you kind of like myself, we've seen a lot of different things transpire in our lifetimes that I'll be honest that, and you can say too, you probably thought at one point you probably would have never seen. But as things happen, I'm like you, I'm a believer that, you know what, things were already planted or put in place. The seeds were already grown. If you really just take a moment to really sit back and look at how things transpired, with the elections and different things that happened, seeds were planted. So again, I know your mind, a lot of times when things are put right in front of you, it's hard for you to believe. But really, that's really what it's all about. See, when they throw it right in front of you, see, most of us are not going to believe. We're looking at the news and we're looking at well, that's what they're using to feed you, right? So I'm with you, and we're not going to turn this into a political episode because we're talking about Tonya Pinkins, the diva, the goddess tonight, y'all. But I really want you to go check out her work. The Red Pill. Really, just take a moment to dive into it and really pay attention to what's going on, and then step back and look what's going on in our world, and see how that plays out for you. I'd be interested to hear comments. Anybody want to reach out to me, send them to me. Let me know what you think about Tonya's film, The Red Pill. But Tonya, I do also want to ask, I'm curious, again, with all the hats that you wear, do you have a favorite? Like, being on stage or being in front of TV, producing, directing, or heck, singing, like, is there one hat that you truly prefer, or are you content and happy to continue to build, where you are or from where you are in the space that you're in today?
I really, for this next time, I want to write, produce, and direct. I
Okay.
really love being on this other side. I
Okay.
like being the person who gets to tell the story and gets to be the one who's, affecting people, which you don't get. I mean, you have a little bit of that when you're on stage as an actor, but I want more of it. So I like switching over to this other hat now.
Okay. And in that had a trip bag, we talked about it briefly. You also have a podcast.
I do.
And look, we can't leave up out of here, before you go ahead and bless us and talk to us about your show and what you're doing. Go ahead and talk about it, Tonya.
Well, my podcast is on a platform called the Broadway Podcast Network, and the person who created it was someone that I had a great deal of respect for, and she came to me and offered me this podcast and asked me to commit to 2 years, and I, knew what the Broadway Podcast Network would be. It would be a lot of people who were fans of artists, and they were going to be interviewing this same sort of group of people. And so I decided that my podcast was going to be like me, and I was going to interview people that I found interesting and just have interesting conversations with them about whatever was on our mind on that day. No planned conversation. So I did a whole series with people on psychedelics, from ayahuasca to mushrooms, therapists working with that. I did a whole series on that. Earlier today, I was with the Queens of Social Work, 2 Afro-Caribbean social workers in Brooklyn, and talking to them about that. I've done poets. I've done people with unusual diseases. Wow. Because as artists, everything can inform your work. Yeah. So I think that the reason I was so sort of clairvoyant about the politics of the world is that human beings interest me. Yeah. And so it didn't matter to me what the news was saying. I'm always talking to regular people. Yeah. I'm at my happiest going and sitting in some neighborhood in a foreign country, even where I don't know anything, and just like taking it all in. Yeah. So I bring those kinds of people to my podcast. It's called You Can't Say That. and you can say anything. And we have some very intimate conversations about a little any and everything. I don't do it as often anymore. I got very disappointed. A little disappointed is not even the word for it. It's a predominantly white platform. I'm grateful to have it because it means whenever I do want to speak, I have a place that I just show up and there's a studio and I can do it. But when the week of the murder of George Floyd, it's my birthday week, and wow. I was up all week just watching the violence on TV. I was like this. I just was. I couldn't imagine that there was anything else that anyone could be thinking about in the world other than that.
Yeah, agreed.
And then I got on the weekly podcast meeting, and there's about 80 people who have to get on, so it takes a little time. So I just, there's just no way in the world. That wasn't what we was going to do. Was there anything else going on in the world?
Right.
I mean, we had the woman who had called the cops on that guy in the park. That had happened.
Yes, that happened that week too.
But it was the racism week.
Right.
And then Ahmaud Arbery.
Yep.
So it was like, and then Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, it was just a snowfall of everything. Yeah.
It was coming.
Yep.
And I got on the podcast, just ready to express with other people because I'm alone. I live alone. And they were talking about the opening of Disney China.
Wow.
And their first job at a Disney park. And they started singing Muppet songs.
Wow.
And I had the wherewithal to know that if I were to ever say this happened, they would deny it.
Right.
So I videoed it. I just sat back and I videoed, and I have a video of that meeting.
Right.
And I just was quiet because I was so devastated. And then towards the end of the meeting, the people from Google came on.
Right.
To basically say, this is what people are searching, which is what was on my mind. And if your podcast isn't addressing that, you run the risk of being considered complicit or of turning a tone, being tone deaf to it.
Wow.
Suddenly, they're like, oh my God,
wow.
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do?
African American going to tell us what to do?
Right.
And I just put the camera up again and videoed that.
Wow.
And I ended up writing a very hard letter where I just said, if you're putting up, Black Lives Matter today and it wasn't up all the months before, I don't believe it. It rings. I don't believe it. And something's wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. But then I had this other experience where I was telling another white friend about that. And she was like, who? She actually was like, her news feed didn't even have any of this stuff on it. And so I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
People have so compartmentalized what they're getting that she was living in a world where those things that I was upset
never
about
existed, never happened.
Didn't even happen.
Wow. It's mind blowing, when to hear these things. And these things still do exist to this day. Let's just be honest. There's still some people that walk around in their own bubble. And we have to have the strength to, sometimes I hate to say grin and bear, but you got to grin and bear it. You got to continue to push through it, push forward, and figure out a way that we can collectively come together and work through this, because it's going to take all of us. And when I say all of us, I'm talking about even those in the bubble. I don't know how we bust those bubbles, but we have to stay, in my opinion, we have to stay solid in what we believe in and trying to create change. And it's going to take all of us to do that. And again, that's a whole nother episode that I'm pretty sure I can sit here with Tonya and talk about. But we're not going to do that tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because tonight is all about Tonya and her gifts and the blessings that she's given to us. So as we close out this amazing episode, Tonya, or as I would like to say now, Tony, could you please take a moment and share your social media? I want to make sure we get our audience to make sure they go out and follow you and support you in all the amazing work that you are doing and that you are going to continue to do and bring to us. And thank you for sharing tonight with me and our audience.
Thank you so much. Well, Red Pill Movie 2020 on Twitter and on Instagram. Tonya Pinkins on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I think it may be Tonya Pinkins 1. Tonya Pinkins on Facebook. Red Pill has Red Pill Movie 2020 on Facebook and Red Pill. The movie is available on Amazon, on YouTube, on Vudu, on Fandango, on Comcast, Xfinity, My podcast is You Can't Say That Again on the Broadway Podcast Network. And I have a book called Red Pill Unmasked, which is available on Audible and at Barnes & Noble. And it's an ebook on the Red Pill website. And there's also a narrative game. You can go on the website and you can play a game where you read and make decisions to see if you could survive a world that is run by the red pills.
We're going to make sure that we get as much as that in the show notes. For those of you who still like to watch us on YouTube, we're going to make sure that we get that. But like you know, we are on Mogul TV, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you go ahead and you follow Two Mics Up on Mogul TV. And that's a wrap. This has been a great conversation, Tonya. Again, thank you so much, Tony. I wish you all the best. You have a home here now, here on Two Mics Up, and you're always welcome to come back and talk about any work or anything that you have coming up in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'll be back for my movie. My next movie is called Game Night. It's a revenge murder romance. So I'll be back to talk about that. And thank you, and a blessed new year.
Same to you. And hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, you know how we do it this time as we wrap it up. It's your man, Dame DNYDC, Two Mics Up. You can follow us across social media, IG, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. If you're still watching on YouTube, that's cool. Just make sure you go ahead down there, you hit that thumbs up and hit the bell so that you can be notified by all the newest content coming to you from me here at Two Mics Up. And ladies and gentlemen, as we close out, you know how we do. At this time, may you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mics out.
007.